it can be really frustrating when you're doing all the right things, like buying organic food and eating and drinking all the right things, even following what the doctor says and directions, and yet the same issues just keep on appearing. When I sit down to map out a child's health journey, for sure, quality diet, the microbiome health, and the nutrition is important, definitely, but I also shift my focus towards the individual child's unique physiological blueprint. In this video, I will cover these 5 patterns that contribute to a healthier child and better recovery, as well as some specific herbs for those specific points, and they will help you. So here we go, let's cover them. Number 1, the nervous system state. What I wish every parent knew is that the child's nervous system is deeply connected to their immune function. If a child is constantly in a state of overstimulation, perhaps due to the sensory overload from electronic things or technology or school anxiety, or even subtle stress, chaos at home, I mean, that can happen a lot in a family, their body's essentially shut down and non-essential repair work just ceases. So, of course, there is the surface symptoms we see a lot, like shaking leg or restlessness, but also there's a lot going internally with the digestion, the hormones, and ultimately the repair of the body. When a child's physically wound up, their body's priority shifts from healing to that survival mode, to the muscles, to run away from danger. I often see cases where the physical symptoms are actually the physical manifestations of unregulated nervous system. Now you might say, but Shannon, my child doesn't have stress. They're just a child and they're having fun. Yes, you're probably right, and children are very resilient compared to parents juggling work and home chores and all of the other jobs you have to do. I get it, but children are different. They're quite resilient, but it might not really be obvious for the nervous system. It might be internal because the microbiome imbalance is out, or the lymphatic system involvement, and it's more on a cellular level of stress, like nutritional deficiencies cause stress on that cellular level. I'll give you an example. I base all my clinical prescriptions on science-based evidence and research. So when I'm reading through the research, sometimes I read studies and they look at animal models, and they sometimes give these animals stress, but like food shortages or lack of water or loud sounds, etc. Now, those animals don't get some disease immediately or they die on the spot, of course. They just have high cortisol levels and different manifestations like cognitive decline or weight gain. So obviously a child's not the same as a lab animal, obviously, but I just want you to get the picture, measurable things internally going on inside of our bodies, and most likely your child's body as well, based on that science. From hundreds of fantastic herbs available, one I am sure you can find easily in your local food store is chamomile. Looking for easy ones for you to use, so make it strong and get your child to drink in the afternoon. If you have a baby, you can even put it on a spoon, cooled down of course, and get them to have little spoonfuls. It's such a safe and wonderful herb, and it works on digestion and nervous system. Number 2, the cycle of silent inflammation. Now, there are some physical signs often pointing to hidden inflammation, like dark circles under the eyes, across a line across the top of the bridge of the nose, geographical tongue patterns, puffiness or in the body, or even restless sleep. 5 examples. The body gives us signs like these as a result of internal disruption. Now, these signs I mentioned are linked to kidney function, mucus production, particularly in the sinus and the ears, gut permeability, and nervous system balance. Now, they're the body's way of saying to the immune system, you know, it's stuck and it's in high alert, and it's giving those physical signs if you look for them. And when we ignore them and we just wait for the next symptom, it could be just an explosion of something big like rashes on the skin or severe allergies, instead of calming the fire behind the scenes before it gets worse. Now, a herb that could help here, marshmallow root. Now, it's not the sweet marshmallows that we roast on the fire, unfortunately. I'm sure your child would love those, but it's the herb that actually originated before marshmallows were made based on that. It's a demulcent and it's got a soothing action, and it tastes pretty bland, so it's a good one for kids. You can put it in smoothies, drinks, or even food. Number 3, circadian irregularity. These days it seems to be more the norm for kids to have an electronic device or some form of screen time during the day and at night as well. Hopefully not in their bed. On top of that, there's LED lights, and the lights are on longer in the home, longer than the sun when it sets. Many of us have forgotten that cycle of nature and the power of the sun and the moon. There's a pattern to it. A child who stays up too late or spends time on that in the blue light screens is out of sync with the biology and the harmony of nature. Even if they do get enough sleep, is it quality? Is the timing of the sleep? That's what matters. And when the circadian rhythm is out, the body misses its window for deep cellular repair, which is why symptoms often return after a period of academic stress, exam period, or seasonal changes when the rhythm is disrupted. Now, a herb that could help here, chamomile, of course, I mentioned, that's a great one, but also a new one for you. One in my toolbox is skullcap. Skullcap calms and quietens neurological impulses and is excellent for hypersensitive and overstimulated children. It's also great one for kids if they get migraines or even seizures, if you've got a child that gets those. Number 4, genetic expressions versus genetic destiny. So parents often ask, is my child allergic to everything like I was? Are they just following the patterns? While genetics provide that blueprint, I prefer to think of it as an expression of those genes. It's often talked today about as epigenetics. They're the proteins that sit on the genes, and are they on or off? We have the ability to influence our genes and turn them off through movement, diet, play, nature exposure. And I've seen children move past those chronic susceptibilities that the parents have and change what their genes were expressing before. Prioritize dirt play, physical movement, deep restorative play in nature with trees. And the genes don't have to express themselves. It is human to have strengths and weaknesses, but if we get back to those basics, we can often see those genes expressions turned off. Now, herb here, I would say, would be an adaptogen. These are herbs which are a bit mysterious in their exact actions, only that they strengthen everyone that takes them. An example is Korean ginseng or American ginseng. They're quite similar, which is classed as one of those top herbs in the Chinese medicine pharmacopoeia. And thousands of years it was only kept for the royal families because it's so special. It can be tricky to find a true type because, to be honest, shops sell inferior quality or substituted herbs, so just be careful there. But if you can find an Australian herbalist with a dispensary, they should have one that's tested for authenticity. Number 5, nutrient availability versus nutrient intake. Parents often tell me, but they eat healthy diet, Shannon. What I see, however, is a gap between what's being consumed and what's actually being absorbed. So if a child is stressed or their stomach acid levels are low due to antibiotics or other medicine or whatever the case, their gut is out, they might be eating the best organic broccoli in the world, but still they've got a nutritional profile that it doesn't match, or maybe they've got higher demand, or maybe they've got higher carbohydrates. And the bioavailability, it has to be there to get all of those nutrients. Now, the microbiome, getting it right with a magic pill, it's not the way, it's the holistic way. That's how we get to heal kids. Now, a herb to help with this is gentian. That's a bitter herb. And you might think, oh, my young child's not going to have a bitter herb. They're going to hate it. I get it. I hear it a lot. But consider how you give it to them and also the dosage. Start slow with food with a few drops. Make it fun and show your child that you're actually taking it and you've got no problem with it. And we've also got to embrace our taste buds, not just the sweet ones. So unfortunately, a lot of foods these days are sweet, and we can fall into the trap of favouring those sweet ones. But if your child just won't even take a drop of gentian, you could try adding it to some juice. Just with time, you slowly increase the strength and decrease the juice, and their taste buds change and they rarely notice it. I've rarely had a child that doesn't cope with this strategy of adding it to juice. And as long as we make the progression over like a couple of months, it's not going to be a quick fix. I've said that in other videos. But if you're in for the long haul, making those healthy children, it's going to work. Now, an example I would give on how I think through a child's case who's in a recurrent cycle of being sick, is there an area that's stuck more and standing out? Is it overstimulation, a pattern of poor rhythm, or a pattern of digestive symptoms? Maybe it's their skin. Maybe that's the only thing and that's the starting point. Well, most definitely, the body is always trying to balance itself and truly wants to be in a healthy state. If your child is constantly showing the same signs, their body isn't broken. It's repeating a defensive strategy and it's no longer serving their long-term needs. By loosening the rigidity patterns in their daily experience, we give the body permission to stop fighting and start thriving. Now, I want you to keep learning. This has only just touched a small piece of everything. Keep watching right here.